to thank all of our sponsors. JMP is is it Grand Sequoia? I don't even know the names of this.
Giant Sequoia.
Giant Sequoia. I knew it was something big.
Big tree.
Very large Sequoia, because they're a very large and friendly sponsor. They're an all-free software company. Coffee is back there. That's sponsored by Altus Metrum. They really should name the company B-Dale and Keith Are Awesome, because I would remember it easier, because they are awesome, and they sponsored the coffee, and they are also an all-free software company for the software components.
We also have Google, Bloomberg, Engineering, CodeThing, and Versity as sponsors. Renting the venue is not free, so we do appreciate them helping us out and letting this be possible.
And we're going to do this a couple times today, but I really want to thank, first of all, the key people on our team that organize it. People have been telling me, like, for weeks, like, you must be really busy with FOSSY coming up. I said, I have no idea. I haven't paid attention. I'm busy on Visio. It's really this team. The key people are Tracy right here, John Sullivan, who worked as a contractor for us on this, and then Pono. Where's Pono? Somewhere.
He's sitting at the luggage
table. He's over at the table. The three of them have been the core team, with lots of help from others, of course, and lots of volunteers we're going to thank in detail later today. But they've done an excellent job, and I'm just going to ask you to applaud for them as loudly as you can right now, and again later. Yeah, event organizing is this series of little tiny details that you probably, if you've never organized an event, you don't know a thing about, but any one of them going wrong, everybody's angry at you and thinks the event was terrible. And this team has made sure that we didn't have any of those for the last 3 years. There is a lost and found item. It's a water bottle. And if you do find any lost and found items, bring them to the registration desk.
We have a luggage table. If you are checking out and traveling today, we have a luggage table where Pono is sitting right over there. The process is, if you have a phone with photography capabilities, you'll take a picture of your luggage, and then to get it back, you just show the picture of your suitcase. If you do not have a phone with photography capabilities, you and Pono will do a interpretive dance together to remember how to get your luggage back, so you can talk to him about that.
We've been using the same badge holders for a number of years now. This is really important. I go to a lot of conferences, and I'm just aghast at the waste that you see from the plastics and the badge holders and everything. There will be a little bin on the registration table. Please leave your badge. I mean, obviously, if you want to keep it as a souvenir for the rest of your life, we would understand. But if you're not doing that, please make sure to return it. What I do, by the way, for souvenirs, I keep the paper part and then give the badge part back, and have a huge wall of all of them. So I recommend that, but please do return the plastics. We will use it again if you return it. I want to remind everybody there's a code of conduct for the event. Code of conducts are extremely important. We encourage vigorous debate. I was in some yesterday, but it needs to be respectful, and you need to treat others with kindness and with respect. And if you see something happen that you feel, even if it's just a little bit on the line and you're concerned, just go up to the registration desk and talk to folks about it. Lots of code of conduct violations are resolved with a friendly conversation. They're not all just like bad, horrible things that happen. They're just, somebody said something that kind of upset me, and it's a really good way to make sure our community stays friendly, respectful, and kind.
The rest of yours.
What else was there?
Do you have more?
I don't have more. I have
Okay.
nothing more.
Okay, cool. There's a couple of OpenWRT ones left at the registration desk. It is the best conference swag, so you should all go buy one. They're $128. You can pay with cash or sign up online.
Isn't swag always stuff that's free as in price? That is not free as in price.
It's not.
It's not
free.
swag.
It's not swag. It's a good souvenir. It's a conference souvenir.
It's more than just a souvenir. It is a tribute to software freedom that was brought to us by Denver Gingrich and the OpenWRT project.
After the keynote, which I'll introduce in a moment, is our lightning talk rounds. We have 12 great talks coming up. They will be in this room here. And then after lunch, we're having the unconference. You may have seen, you should check out the board next to the registration desk. There's a lot of great ideas there. If you haven't looked at it already, add your own ideas. You can still add little dots to vote for the ones you like. There's been a lot added since yesterday even. So make sure you take a check it out. And then during during the lunch break, we'll be making that schedule and posting it online. And then at 1:45, if you come back from lunch a little bit earlier, Aaron and Salt will be doing a little introduction on how unconferencing works in the keynote room, and then we'll disperse and do that. And then after that, our closing session is at 5:15, where we will give a little bit more details about next year's FOSSY from our resident Canadian Denver.
I do have one more thing. So the one FOSSY meeting, because they were meeting like every week, twice a week. I showed up to one and said, I want to have slide karaoke. And they immediately said, you never come to these meetings, A, and B, we don't want to do slide karaoke. But if you wish we had, because I thought it fit perfectly, lightning talks on conference and slide karaoke. If you would like to do slide karaoke, Google, or I'm sorry, search on the internet for it. I still use Google, I admit. Use your search engine of your choice to find out what slide karaoke is. But if you want it next year, give feedback to say you want it, so I would get to have it. Are you gonna like veto it even if they all email you? Tracy is gonna veto it even if you email her, so don't bother. Oh well.
Just make your own unconference with only slide karaoke. How about that?
I should have done that, but now it's too late to plan. But yes, I will do that next year.
I'd like to introduce our keynote for today. Our board chair, Allison, is going to be introducing and talking to Chris Polanco from OpenSignal. OpenSignal has been great. They've been running our conference AV for the past 3 years using all free software, streaming it, recording it, doing all of the things. It's been amazing. And we want to hear all about the things that they use, how they do a community media service, and how they use FOSS to do it. So come on up. He's running AV from stage.
Just a little.
Chris, so thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's a little weird to be on this side of the camera for me, but I'm glad to be talking about the incredible work we've been able to do with FOSSY over the last 3 years.
That's awesome. So to start out, tell us a little bit about what OpenSignal is.
Yeah, so OpenSignal is a community media center here located right down on MLK. We serve the community, and our main mission is, giving access to media education and media equipment to people. So if you go to OpenSignal, you become a member. Membership is $5 or it can get waived for many different reasons. And we'll teach you how to use camera equipment and how to edit. And then you can give us that and we'll run it on our channels.
Awesome. And what's your role in the org?
So I'm the production manager for production services. So I run all the professional services that we also offer on the side.
So we see all these OpenSignal t-shirts running around. Tell us a little bit about everyone's doing.
So today we have our crew, and we have people running sound. We have people running manned cameras apart from our PTZ cameras. During the conference, we've been simulcasting to YouTube and to our Restreamer platform. 5 different breakout rooms, each with an actual person on the other side in our little control room. And so every single room's had a operator sitting there listening to your talk, making sure you're staying on camera and pulling up your slideshow when needed.
So I know you've been doing this for 3 years now. The first year, you started with a fairly straightforward, simple setup. And then in the second year, you launched a very much more deeply FOSS-based system. So tell me a little bit about that journey for you, the inspiration of, FOSSY for you in that first event.
Yeah, so during the first FOSSY year, we did, when this was being held at the convention center, we followed the protocol for what everyone does. And I think the best way to explain how the journey with how we've built the setup for FOSSY in the last 3 years actually can be explained by my personal journey with FOSS. So I actually got a couple of slides here. So I'm not a FOSS advocate, I'm a maker. That's where it started. So I've always made things. Up here is a couple of the projects that I've realized over the years I actually have to thank to FOSS. I didn't realize at the time, but growing up, FOSS was everywhere for me. I was always playing with things. So Everything from running Hackintoshes and using free and open source software to help me get that on there, so I could just render my projects with 5 more minutes to spare, building 3D printers and learning Marlin. And then over here, you can't really read it, but that's a FreeNAS. And yeah, it's long ago enough that it was actually FreeNAS back then. And then the last slide over there is a program you're going to hear me mention a lot called Companion, because it actually is the software that really got us into FOSS and made us embrace FOSS as a whole. So I actually was a filmmaker. That's what I was studying to do. It's what I was going to do. My plans after college was finish up my degree, and I actually was going to head down to LA and go probably work a restaurant job while trying to make it in the film industry. But, you know, as many other people, COVID happened. And COVID made me take those skills that I learned in FOSS over the years and actually really embrace it. So behind me was the first live stream I ever did for OpenSignal. So OpenSignal at the time just furloughed a bunch of people and couldn't bring them all on, anyone on, without ruining their unemployment. But since I was fresh out of college, I didn't have an employment. So I got called up and they said, hey, we know you've done some live streaming in the past. We got this project we can't take on. We're going to hand you a whole bunch of gear that we don't use at the moment because we're busy running around just keeping the lights on for City Hall. Can you go figure something out? And what ended up becoming my like line during that entire show is every time someone asked me, hey, can we do this? I'd go, hand me another laptop. I need another instance of OBS. So that show over there is running like 3 or 4 graphics different packages. I'm using Companion to control the entire thing and sync across like 5 or 6 different laptops. And by the end product over there, I'm running a very high quality show with very high quality graphics. And I'm doing it all through multiple instances of OBS. I think I had a laptop count of like 7 or 8 by the end of it. And that just got me back into the broadcast industry. So as I continued to work through the broadcast industry, after I pulled this off, someone went, you know what you're doing, let me give you some money. And so, you know, feeling like an imposter, the first thing I did was do it the industry way. And I hated it. So this is the first time I was ever commissioned to build a mobile system. And I actually have let that photo hide for multiple years. I only ever showed off the front. So I followed the protocol, I followed the rule book, I went and I bought everything that you're supposed to when you have money, do it all with the manufacturer's controllers, the manufacturer's setup. And I mean, at the end there, you could see I did sneak in a little Companion anyways, just out of necessity for a couple of features that I couldn't get around. But I really tried following every manufacturer approved piece of gear, piece of hardware, and I did it. And I hated it. But at the time, COVID was slowly recovering, and I was getting back into film, and I was doing some remote jobs where people would call in to be able to see their set, so the client didn't have to travel internationally or travel across the country even at that point. So I built this little setup, and this little setup, while I'm using closed hardware. You're going to hear this a lot from me. In AV, there's no open hardware. It just sadly is not a thing that's developed too often. The closest thing to open hardware that I'll be able to get my hands on and put in anything is those open WRT routers, which I am so mad because I bought a whole bunch of routers right before they dropped the hardware. Don't worry, I'm still running open WRT though. So I built this little setup. And this little setup actually ended up catching the eye of multiple producers over and over again. And next thing I know, my phone's ringing every single day with people asking me, how do you do this? How do you build that into a small little microphone case? That monitor over there is 7 inches wide. To give you a whole thing of scale, that laptop is a 13-inch MacBook Air. And I'm having 3 or 4 video streams go in and out of it through OBS, through Companion. And the big thing that I did was I used the manufacturer hardware wrong. So I actually ran the whole thing backwards, and I used that as a little capture device, and I was puppeting the whole thing from Companion, and I wrote lots and lots of pages of logic in Companion. So at the end of the day, every single time I needed to change out my hardware or bring something slightly different, I would bring my big Companion file, and I would be able to like move between hardware. And I would be able to send that out to people and tell them build your own. Let me show you how to do it. Let me show you how to calculate bit rate, and we can just start revolutionizing the industry now. Up until I started doing this, you would need a cart about the same size of our system here. And it was something that was just only for high-end Hollywood productions. And I was over here doing it off my little MacBook Air that was, at the time, probably struggling to stay alive with a little Thunderbolt USB hub that honestly is still on my desk today. And just good old Companion puppeting everything from underneath. So that just got me like thinking about, even though I'm in an industry where everything has a perfect solution, you just have to spend money on it. I can build my own tools and just stack on top of the hardware, and I'm no longer vendor locked. And that just got me going. So I scaled it up when I got money. And I built my first mobile. So I actually ran a small production company for a little bit, and I built my mobile, which is about half the size of the systems we're bringing here today. But I built it all on open source, and I was able to punch way above my weight class. So keep in mind, I'm 19, 20 years old at the time, can't even legally drink, and I'm fighting for convention center contracts that are $15,000, $20,000 in an industry full of people who all start in their 40s and gatekeep. Meanwhile, I'm here pushing free and open software solutions and telling everyone how to do it. And that really scared people. But then I got distracted, and you can see that same case just full of servers at this point. So I ended up pivoting. The context behind everything behind this is at the same time I was building giant storage clusters so I could edit my frankly not so great indie film, and while everyone else was stuck at home. So I created little VPN networks, created remote real-time editing before the software even supported it, because my only other option was paying Frame.io hundreds of dollars a month for my indie film that cost me $600 to make. And I got to make it all the way out to a film festival in LA. And it was all thanks to my crazy hacked together servers. So at that point, I'm pivoting really hard into this. I wind down my company because my friend had better opportunities he wanted to chase. And I find myself at OpenSignal. And what I didn't realize at the time was OpenSignal also went through this journey. So they also went through the scrappy, figured it out, got it going, then let's go buy the hardware now that we have the money, and then realizing we actually just need to do what we're good at and just build on top of what everyone else can do. So I want to show you the weirdest server closet ever. Please don't judge us. This is what happens when your entire staff has to go remote during COVID and you weren't prepared for it. So this is our server closet, and it's the weirdest thing because I bet not a single person in this room can identify every single piece of hardware in there. And that's because it's an insane closet. No one exactly has a closet like this. So what I haven't mentioned so far is OpenSignal at its heart. You might know it through its other names, Portland Community Media or Portland Cable Access. So we're actually a public access channel. So over here is our distro setup. So this is master control, where we're getting all the signals around the city. We have 5 channels. And the middle 2 portions of those racks is actually a whole TV station shoved into those racks. The density in our server closet is insane. Any other TV station has 4 racks just dedicated to this hardware. But I'd like to bring in this as a good example of OpenSignal's infrastructure. So right here, we got our network rack, which is pretty standard, except we have a 10 gig infrastructure, which is kind of insane for a public access station. In the middle is an entire TV station crammed into 2 racks, 5 different channels, CDN networks for our network streams, and all the video routing, video checking infrastructure you might need, encoders to deliver to Comcast, all shoved into 2 little tiny racks in the middle. And then the rack over here is where it's insane. Those are VM clusters. The 2 super micro servers that are each 1 Utah right there is actually a harvester cluster sitting right in there. For a public access station that up until now only had 2 IT staff, we were running full VMs, full cluster hardware, because something that was realized really early on at OpenSignal is we can't afford any nice tools. We have to use open source and build on top of them. But it's a very good example of how in the video industry, we also are stuck with some closed source solutions, and we just have to accept that. The hardware is not there. Realistically, I can't run 17 instances of OBS reliably enough to be able to run a TV station. So in here we have all those blue, all those green and yellow servers are Cablecast. That's the software we use to run our TV station. But again, in the spirit of we try to build everything outside of our closed source hardware, so we're never vendor locked. That's what the VM clusters are for. So the VMs clusters are running a myriad of control software to be able to puppet all of that closed source hardware in a way that we can replace it tomorrow if we had to. And that's the thing, right? Like, so I like this server closet as a good example of how we need to embrace open source, even in closed source industries, because while I have a TV station sandwiched between 2 servers, they're interconnected in a way that other TV stations, frankly, don't do at our scale. And bigger TV stations just have the money to throw around and just not deal with it. But we have to at OpenSignal out of necessity. So in that server rack, there's everything from Nextcloud. We run Snipe inventory management for our inventory management. We've gone through multiple inventory software, and we ended up landing on the open source one. And apparently we even contributed so hard that when we wanted a feature, we would just ask for it and it'd get done. So we also try to contribute to the projects we do. There's a Git server running on there as we're rebuilding our dashboard for the producers to be able to drop their footage for us. Brand new S3 buckets are being built out to get us off older file upload systems. Like, we've been building it all in-house, and it's insane. Somewhere in there is the platform that people are watching from home today, like our Restreamer platform is just hosted right there. And what we've realized recently as we had our director of IT depart, a lot of the people in our organization didn't even realize all of this was here. A really fun thing I did earlier this week was I took our Restreamer link that we're serving to you guys today, and I dropped it into our general chat. Apparently that got everyone talking. No one realized that we had hundreds of views just like running through our data center. Because that's what that is right here. We have a whole data center in a public access station. And we just have had to embrace open source. So that's how we do it at OpenSignal on the infrastructure side. That's how I did it as a personal, just personally, like when I was freelancing, like always accepting the fact that I might have to use closed source hardware, but I don't have to use it the way the manufacturer is telling me. And that absolutely is not a mindset in the video industry, to the fact that I'm gonna show you guys a quick little demo here of something incredibly mundane to probably all of us. And then explain to you the price tag that it would have if I was paying for hardware to do it. So I think, let me see.
And after that, we'll open up for questions. So think about any questions you might have.
I do have one more slide here. I want you to spot the open source. You can't. So I like this as a really good example of, yeah, sometimes we have to use closed source hardware, but we're not always using it to control everything. So this audio board right here is Yamaha. It's closed source hardware. Their protocol is extremely infuriating to use, but I can puppet it from the station in the front. but I can do that through Companion. The audio board has no audio connections to it. It's all fully digital. And while I'm using Dante, which is a proprietary protocol, it's built on AES 67, which is an open source protocol. And I know tomorrow, if I need to leave that manufacturer for any minute, I actually can flip a setting on my board and switch it back to the open source protocol. In there, I also have a whole intercom system, which control surface I'm rebuilding in an open source program. I've debated running a Home Assistant instance just so I can get a nice little interface for people who don't know how to use Control Station, and I can create a little iPad that's nice and accessible to our producers. Our lighting right now, we're completely converting it over to modern protocols, but you bet I'm also building an iPad interface to let people turn on the lights without having to learn how to use an entire closed source lighting software. Over here on the left is our biggest show we've done in a while. So I'm also helping build out our new department that is working on building, creating media at a higher quality, showing off what OpenSignal can really do. And I like this example of, if you can't tell where the open source is, we built an entire LED array and used open software to be able to control it. The hardware controller was an Arduino. It was just fancied up with a couple of extra add-ons, but what I got bought was pretty much an Arduino. And we were able to create a show-stopping effect that no one really could tell. We were in sync with the music, with a live operator operating the light show just on the pyramid alone. And that was only possible through open source software. I asked a little bit later, I ended up finding out that one of our production specialists, the people running the cameras here, actually did something very similar. Well, I got to hack it together for under $1,000. They spent $10,000 just on the controller alone. So like we have so much to think, and then we also get to fly way above what we can afford because of open source and the fact we've embraced it. So I always talk about not locking ourselves into a vendor. We're also building that knowledge in-house, right? Like I get to learn how to program these more complicated, trying to find the word here, but like I get to learn how to program more complicated logic into our controllers and everything like that. Get to think a lot more like a software developer, even though I don't know a lick of software. I barely am now realizing that I probably should just learn Python at this point.
It's not hard. Do it.
I mean, I even flunked out of CS in high school. Like, I'm not a developer at all. I barely know how to configure things. On the way in, I was explaining this to one of our production specialists, and he goes, "Maybe I should have learned how to code like you." And I'm like, "Ha, you're hilarious." At the end of the day, I'm just taking tools that are already out there and reusing them in a different way in an industry that people usually just want to buy their way out of. And we get to punch way above our weight class in that. So for sure, now I can do that quick little live demo, even though it's incredibly mundane. So you saw me set my laptop off to the side here, and Davina, you can punch it up. So while we wait for it to get on screen, I'm going to point out that I'm actually I'm going to try to call out every single piece of open free software that I'm using today. So once Davina punches it up here, you're going to be able to see my screen from here, and I'm actually streaming back to the mobile just using Video Ninja, formerly known as OBS Ninja, which is just a little website that we absolutely use a ton. We've debated spinning up our own instance because of how much we use it, but the IT department tells me I'm not allowed to spin up my own turn server. So this is something, I mean, incredibly mundane compared to tools you guys get to use every day, but I like to bring this up as an example because that's City Hall. I'm currently remoted into it using a WireGuard VPN running on an open WRT router that I installed over there and have one at my station and a client on my laptop. Our control software here is our companion that we've programmed incredible amount of logics. I've spent 2 weeks just building this controller here. And once I remove this close, you're actually going to notice that that's a live feed from City Hall. Again, using that same free freely available web delivery service, Video Ninja. And from here, I'm in real time controlling City Hall's video stream. I keep saying that I did all of this so I can give my operators bathroom breaks because City Hall meetings are getting longer. So like from here, I'm fully controlling, and if I unmuted here, I can even hear the music out there. I'm fully monitoring from, a couple blocks down the street from my laptop. I've done this on LTE connections even, and it's fully worked. In here, I'm using at least 3 free and open source software that I can just think of. I mean, everything down to this little tally light red right there. Tally is an incredibly challenging problem. So again, going back to every manufacturer has their own closed source way they think they should make red lights appear. There are hardware controllers to be able to deal with this for us. It costs $5,000. I'm running Tally Arbiter in a Docker container. So in here, we've also Dockerized all of our software to be able to keep it more, consistent. I can also swap out a computer and just run a Docker Compose file and swap out my entire control software stack at 1 moment's notice in case I have a laptop died. I'm not locked into any specific vendor. I can swap switcher manufacturer, and I can still have my controller work. I can swap out the graphics program I'm using, and it will still have all my logic built in. It's incredibly powerful to be able to move all of my logic and programming and just puppet all this closed source hardware from afar. Because in the video industry, even though it's all closed source, they're all still forced to support APIs because remote control is just so important for the work we do. And while this is incredibly mundane, I mean, that's just a web stream, this is a VPN, and that's just some control software. The traditional way to go about this is you would first pay an incredibly large amount of money to whatever company you bought a switcher from for them to build you a custom controller for your use. That can range anywhere from picking up Ross's Quorum system, which is a $10,000 upgrade on top of an already $15,000 switcher. And then that would also require you to pick up another $20,000 license for their proprietary graphics program. So it gets incredibly expensive, and that just gets you the control. You still then need to create a VPN solution, so you're also contracting with a security company to set all that up for you. And then the real big crazy one is the fact that this multi-viewer is running through a web browser. The correct way to do this is to spend $10,000 on matching encoder and decoder from a company that still develops the protocol as open source, but you would have to buy theirs to do this properly. And I was down at the waterfront just this past weekend for Project PAPS, operating the PTZ cameras, and I just casually pulled this up and went, oh yeah, let me show you how my controller at City Hall works. And the director for that show, keep in mind, he's been touring, he's working these big shows. Literally the day before, he just like covered Iggy Pop, and he goes, how did you do that? Oh my God, what? Like, I'm coming over to your station and you're showing me how you do that. And I'm like, oh, it cost me nothing. He's even using Companion, and he didn't realize he can just pull up the web interface on it. Like, it's an industry where the tools we use just get handed down. You get told, here, use this. No one ever questions anything. And so here at OpenSignal, we just made it a thing to question everything, down to why do we have to have a camera operator in the back of every room, sitting through every conference with a little audio board in the corner? We can do this better. And that's what came with the control room idea. Every single controller that is being used has a companion instance that's controlling your room individually. Our tally is all handled through an open source little program. Because in the video industry, the protocols are all open source. You just end up buying the hardware and their implementation. But at the end of the day, you can just pipe straight into them and save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's how, as OpenSignal, we found ourselves punching way above our weight class in an industry where we got a tenth of the budget of some of these other shows, and we're pulling off the same effects. And again, incredibly mundane to you guys. That's just a web stream. That's a
Not
controller.
mundane. It's actually quite inspiring. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. Yeah. Does anybody in the audience have questions for Chris? Questions about the software? Oh, yep.
Test.
Do you have a mic?
I have questions. I have two, actually, but I want to make sure other people, if questions occur to them, also have time. And one is really like more a tools of the trade question, so it may be more appropriate to answer outside of this forum. My first question is whether OpenSignal has ever thought about offering screenwriting classes.
I think they have in the past. The problem is we just don't have the staff who specializes in that yet. And
That's too bad.
Our
given that
education
there's a film industry in Portland.
and our educational side is more constrained when it comes to funding. So
Yeah.
if you know anything about how OpenSignal gets our funding, we have a pretty large capital budget that has to be spent on hardware. Just as a way of how the funding comes, we can't spend it on people's salary.
Yeah.
So that's why we have limited offerings, but we do try to offer the most we can.
Yeah, I've tried to sign up for screenwriting classes a few times in Portland, but they've always been full. So my other question is just what you think of Creative Suite from Adobe as a professional video editing tool. Is it still at that level, or are there other affordable options as
So
alternatives?
every time I set up a new computer, I give myself this challenge of I am not going to install Creative Cloud. Let's see how long I can get away with it. Our main editing computer made it about a year before we had to do it for a specific project. I've been pushing OpenSignal towards using DaVinci Resolve. Well, again, that's not an open source software. I can then use Lua scripts on it to automate some controls, and more importantly, its database is just Postgres. And I can host that individually on my own server, and I can create my own remote editing software. That's again the backbone of what I use to create that remote editing setup during the pandemic. And it was because I just find that DaVinci Resolve supports a lot more open source technologies, even though itself isn't open. So I don't really like Adobe personally. I've switched away from it for a long time. I always encourage my people, use whatever you feel comfortable with. But it's very rare that I see Premiere Pro open up in our offices. We still use Photoshop pretty regularly, so that's usually what ends up beating my challenge. That's what beat this laptop specifically. This one made it a year and a half working at OpenSignal before I'd install the Creative Suite, and it was because I needed Photoshop for like one random feature.
If anybody thinks about downloading Creative Suite, it used to be a monthly program. Now they actually have a cancellation fee.
Yep. Yeah, right now we're in the middle of rethinking our contract as a whole with Adobe at OpenSignal because we have enough licenses to switch over to Resolve. We just haven't had the time to develop our curriculum around it.
Other questions?
Thank you for sharing this information. Do you see a need for like open hardware in this space as well?
I would love it. Absolutely. The only way I get open hardware is if you build it yourself. And it's usually just computers running some lockdown version of Linux for the one feature. I don't know if open hardware as a whole will ever make it. I know a couple of people have tried to create open hardware cameras before, and they always end up kind of dying out. But that's because the hardware from the manufacturers is usually good enough because they have to support SDKs and APIs, and they have to do a pretty good job about it. My big gripe is with all the control software with huge SaaS overheads and stuff like that. A good example here is Blackmagic creates all of our encoders. They have to support the open protocols or else they wouldn't be very good encoders. Hello? Yeah. They wouldn't be great encoders. So we actually had a problem when we rebuilt City Hall. Our fiber connection got moved to the temporary space and they didn't put one back. So Comcast was about to be in violation of their contract as they're supposed to give us a hardware, like a video encoder and a video decoder at our station to be able to send their feed through. I had the restreamer. And I was able to tune one of our Blackmagic encoders to Restreamer, hit that, and then use that as a connection point to get it back to our station. And we were able to keep City Hall online for 2 months without the proper stuff installed. So I just want the control software to continue to build and grow. And more than anything, it just needs to get in front of the people who are building the systems. Again, it's an industry where every single time you go out, you don't exactly have the space to learn, because if you screw something up, you're out. At OpenSignal, we get to go out 3-4 times a week, and what we promise the client is so much lower than what we're actually trying to shoot for. So we get to experiment in that margin of like quality we're adding. We provide some of the nicest public access coverage we can find. During the rebuild, we tried to find examples to show the city, and we couldn't find anyone who was doing it nicer than us. So we're just like, as the trailblazers, sitting here just showing people our control software, showing how we're doing it, and telling them, look, pay someone. I know it's not being paid by the client, and I know it's going to suck the first time, but just pay someone like a week to come in and just play with your hardware, with your needs, and set up control software that's open source on it. And you're going to find out that that pays itself.
We got time for one more.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of this, for being here, for teaching others about open source and spreading the word about free software solutions. I love that you have put these things together, that you've brought this into an otherwise closed space. But I wonder, are you sharing these things back? Are you making this available? I know that there's definitely an interest of, well, you don't want people to just take your business that you've built and created here, but some of these tools, especially for other conferences, other groups, could be very, very, very valuable. And yeah, thank you.
So I guess my screen's blacked out, so I'm actually going to pull up something real quick for a second here, because again, yeah, I do want to share it and I want to make it more widely available. So in the video industry, there's a lot of that. Yeah, protect your work, don't show it off. You gotta keep what you're doing secret, or else someone's gonna come around and take your work from you. And I just hate it personally, as a person of color who had to break into the industry myself. I had to deal with a lot of gatekeeping in that aspect, a lot of people just questioning what I'm doing. So right here, I am designing V1s in a slightly bigger case, but V2 of this is going to be a Pelican Air case. And what I'm pretty much planning to do is take these files, take my control software, the companion config and everything, and just put it up on GitHub after I'm done building this, and show people, here's a little fly pack. This thing will be able to multi-stream like 2-3 rooms at a time. I'm building it all into a case that's, you can luggable. You'll be able to fly with it. Here's how you do it. Here's how it is. But again, in this industry, a lot of people just need that reliability. So while I'm teaching people half across the world who can't hire me, everyone locally is just going to hire me because they need that reliability. So I have no qualms about telling people what I know, because it only serves to let people know, this guy knows what he's talking about. I should hire him.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Chris. And Chris, let me know that if you want to peek into the control room, it's okay, which I know this group probably does. So thank you.
Yep. All right.
Hey, we're going to take like a 10-minute break, so feel free to top up your coffee, get a snack, and then I'll be back up here for doing lightning talks. If you're giving a lightning talk and have any questions, come up and talk to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask for people to sit up in the front row so we can just like go through them. We can keep on a schedule. So thanks, everyone.